This is part 2 of my series about the making of a model for Trainz railsim of Chippenham station and on the Great Western Main Line, Brunel built station, designed and built. And as you can see from comparing it to my previous point where I ended my previous video, I've managed to get on a bit further, but there are a number of issues. And principally I brought in this side elevation, which I'll just zoom in a bit, and you can see that looks like a pretty authoritative side elevation from one of those plans I downloaded from the Network Rail archive. This also is a separate plan from that same archive, and the reason why I've put that in front of this one is because when I just brought this elevation in and put it in the vertical position next to the track plan, which is there, and I'll pick up that one and I'll hide everything else. What I found was that maybe I was assuming incorrectly, but these two don't match, or at least they match to an extent. They match to an extent of up to this point, which is this point here, and to this point here. And we can see that by the 3 windows, and then the blank wall here, and then we've got the bay window, that's that one there, and then we've got 2 windows, that's these 2 here, and then we've got the corner, the 2 corners, which is here, and then we go along and we've got a doorway, 2 windows and a door, and then this corner again. If I zoom in a bit closer you'll see more clearly. We've got that corner, and these finishing corners are good indications. Then we have 2 windows and a door which goes into the luggage, so that's what that'll say up there, and then we've got a parcels office here, which is this window, and then we've got another window here. This is the actual platform, and then we've got this curious alteration to this plan. It looks like somebody has begun to scribble it out, because certainly as far as the track plan is concerned, this wall, and it should just be this window, is here. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, but on this elevation we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again we've got this strange marking on the plan, which maybe is suggesting that it's incorrect. But then we have these buildings. We've got 2 windows here which perhaps correspond to these 2, but also we've got this which looks very much like a platform back piece here, and you'll see why I call it a platform back or facade in a moment when we look at the other side. And then we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 windows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this certainly looks like this building here, but of course according to this elevation it's much further along. And then we have 4 more facade windows, except here it indicates that's the end of the buildings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spoof it up. Basically I'm going to accept this here as a part of the facade, and then I'm going to put in 6 of these, so that's going to move the whole thing along to marry up with this elevation rather than this track plan. And then I'm going to move this along, or a copy of this along to duplicate it, and do these 2 instead of 1, and then use this as a guide for this one, and then add more of the facade and finally finish it off there. So what will happen is that what's happened essentially is the station has got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, about 70 foot longer in that direction. And if we look back over here at this end, we've got these 3 windows, which is certainly 1, 2, 3, and then we've got 2 more of what I'm calling a facade. So at this end it's also increased by about another 20 feet, and that's what I'm going to be doing. That's the way I'm going to do it, because you know, more is better. So a longer station, and if we unhide everything, you'll see what I've actually done. So since that first video, since the first part, I've been altering things here, and as you can see, I've just left this at the moment, and this isn't running to the full length because I'm going to change this here. But from this point over to this point here, I've pretty much accepted this elevation, and this is another more detailed showing the construction of the roof, interior of the roof, which I won't need because we're not going to be able to see inside the roof. But that gives me a good, the thing about this one is I had measurements on it, and so for here, for example, 46 feet. Now you'll see that that doesn't read 46 feet, it's backwards, and that's because the plan was in the other direction, as it were, taken from the other side, from the platform, the track side, looking at it. So I flipped it this way round in order to marry it up with this. So that's going to give me my platform guide, what's on the platform, various doors, and also the exterior. So that will give me both sides of this. And you can see here that I've still got to check up on things, because I believe I have this at the correct height with this one here, but clearly the platform height is too great, and at the moment the platform height is 4'3", which I think is higher than the original Great Western broad gauge platforms in the 1840s and early 1850s. Okay, what else? Well, so these are still those extruded splines which I showed you in the first video, and I've done a rather strange platform ending here, which is a 90-degree curve of the platform, and there's no ramp. And I've come across this before in GWR, early GWR stations, either just ending with steps or with a ramp. And if we look at that picture in the illustrated guide to the GWR, dated 1852, produced by George Measham, and this is meant to be Chippenham Station, and this position here appears to be this position here. I've looked and looked and looked at this, and that's the best option I can give. However, you'll see immediately that in no part of the station are there two tracks running side by side like this. There is another one over here, and that appears to be a footbridge, and so I may be wrong with the position of this, but I can't equate this drawing with what I've got in these plans, because the footbridge actually comes across here. Okay, so what else? Well, we're still with that two bays, which again is not in George Measham's drawing, and we've got the two through lines here and a centre through line here, and so it's going to be very much an adaptation, best guess. And if anybody has got any information about Chippenham Station at this period, please let me know. Now, I spoke about the facade, and on this side of the station there was a facade which was mimicking the facade over here, but there's no station offices, so it's a blank or flat facade with windows. So I've created this so far, and I've created my own sort of generic Cotswold stone, Bath stone texture, and use that. And this is the early stages, because there's a lot of polys which I can save here, and also you can see there's a lot of just splines. Now these here are going to be these, well, at the moment they're windows, but they might be I'm looking for more information. I don't know, there's nothing really here that can show me anything, and it does show quite a low roof compared to the height at Chippenham. Now I'm not surprised because these illustrations are notoriously unreliable, but these may well be slatted vents, slatted openings all the way along to provide ventilation, whereas when we come to the roof, when I come to do the pitched roof, there'll be glazed sections to provide the light. But these ones appear to be windows. I don't think they opened on this side. And so as I say, so far all I've done is basically created 32 windows. There's 32, and that agrees with the track plan, thank goodness. But I've extended it to the full length of the track plan, and on this side there's going to be more. So where I said on that side elevation that I've got some just platform facades, that's what I'm going to reproduce, but on this side, and it'll be longer. It will extend further on the office side, which is these are the offices going to be here, and there's also a few here. By the offices I mean of course the booking hall, luggage room, waiting room, lavatories, that sort of thing. So this one here on this side, I've got to make a decision about these. I've also got to reduce a lot of polys. The polys will be lost from this bit of the mesh. So if I look at the polygon counter for that, it's almost 2,000, and already we're getting very high on the poly count. But because we've got this moulding, let me click away, there's an example of the moulding, and that goes right through. I've extended that right through. It projects about 4 inches from the wall, and it projects, you'll be able to see it because of the, here we go, there we are, and it projects about the same on this side. So it's a finishing piece, an architectural finishing piece really, and this part, the window sill itself, does the same thing. It's a separate, that's just a separate little box. These are all splines which are extruded and then textured, and even though these are they cost us 28 polys at the moment, once you, I'll just demonstrate with one, once you reduce that down to editable polys, then the actual number of polys on each one will be 10. So already so you imagine that multiplied 32 times, that's going to save a lot of, for our budget. Furthermore, once I get into this, if I go into wireframe, and this is the wall section, these are all separate as you can see, and we've got 4 polys in there which are going to be completely hidden by the moulding and the windowsill. So I'm going to be able to lose those as well. And so again, 4 polys multiplied by 32 is, what's that, 128 polys off of this. And this I know I haven't reduced yet to just polys, because I may need to alter it. So as you can see there's quite a bit that can be done to reduce the hit, the graphics hit. I'm still not 100% with my texture, because I've got that sort of pale line running through there all the way along. It's repeated many times, so I may go into the texture and just adjust that a little bit. If I go into Paint Shop Pro, which is my little graphics I've been using for donkey's years now, this is the beginning of my what's going to be a texture station TGA texture, and that's just greys at the moment, so I've got all this space to add in as I go along. But if I start by I'll be using these for the window frames, because I don't want that bright white, the way they're painted by, you know, I know Dulux Weather Shield at the moment in the current station. So I want to knock it back a bit to these sort of off-white greys. And if I just open the, trying to remember which one it was that I went for now, I think it was this one. No, it's not that one at all. It's stone texture, I think I called it. There we are. So it's not a very big one. It's bigger than that. It's 512 by 256, not too bad. You can see there that one is slightly lighter than these. So what I'll do is I will simply copy some of this and just paste it into some of these so as to reduce it, and the effect of that will be to blend that obvious line there, blend it more in with the stonework. And there's also a dark one there underneath it. If we look here, it's that one is the dark one and that one is the light one. So that's a little job to do, but no big issue. And I like to do these textures as I go if I possibly can. So there we are. That's the situation at the moment with Chippenham. It has been quite an effort to get even this far, because just reconciling these plans has been a bit of a nightmare. And at one point I was stretching and shrinking this texture, this plan laterally, horizontally, to try and get it to fit. But of course it won't fit. It doesn't fit. It's not the same as this track plan. So whatever these plans are, this is going to be my best estimate. And as I say, if anybody wants to have a go and give me a better explanation, then I'd be very welcome to receive it, because at the moment it's got me floored. Just one final point before I finish this update, and that is the height of the platforms. And at the moment they are reflecting the height in these end plans. Let's just improve that texture. It's a little bit higher, so it's got to come down a fraction. So I may be reducing those the platform heights, taking them down a little bit, just to make it sit more comfortably with this texture, with this diagram. Although even though I've got that, if we zoom in here, and if I was to move this particular, which way do I want to go? Never the way that I want to go. If we were to, no, that's not it either. If we were to take that across, so the gable pitch, so it's the same height as this, that gives my platform height. But when I come into here with this one, the platform height is a little high for those doors there, but not too high. I think you'll find if I move this one a fraction, if I'm moving it the right way, bring it up, yeah, you can see it's chopping. It is too high for this one. So again, I've got to try and decide whether it's the platform I need to lower, or whether it's this diagram, this plan, which is stretched too much vertically. So in other words, bring the base up a bit. By bringing the base up a bit, it will, as it were, lift those doors a little bit, but it make these more square, the windows more square. And of course I've already done a whole section of facade, so at the moment I'm thinking the platform's going to get lowered a bit. It doesn't make it, it's not a big issue, I don't think, with regard to the broad gauge in the 1840s and 50s, because they tended to be regarded more as like road carriages, and of course you stepped up on several steps up into your carriage, so a relatively low platform is not going to be an issue. And even though I have made some broad gauge platforms at 4'3" above the zero height, this is going to stand on its own, this station, so that'll be fine, I think. And we're only talking about, I think we're only talking a small amount. If I just raise this one, now because it's, there we are, we're just about there, I think. Let's go up really high. So we've got to come in on that line. So that's going to be the that's the height there. So if I go back to where it was, take it down a bit, that's where it was. So I've got to reduce these so as to reveal the lower part of those doors. And those are the sort of compromisings I'm having to make. So there we are. That's all for this update so far. And you can see why planning your model is so essential, and getting plans that you can use and then making sure the plans actually make sense can be quite a problem. And although it's great, and it was fantastic to find the plans on Network Rail's archive, and wonderful to see the detail, and I'm going to be able to use that in quite a lot of detail. I've got to check these columns. I think they are square. I thought they were fluted at one stage, but this fencing here, this sort of Roman style fencing, brilliant. I really enjoy making that. So it's going to be a very nice station, I think, and of course it's going to be all in that nice sort of warm stone, Cotswold stone. And we get this rather bizarre effect in Gmax whenever I make a big mesh like this. I'm pretty sure it disappears once I export it. I'm hoping so anyway. But if we were to see that in wireframe, you get all sorts of wacky effects. I think it's just a rendering action from Gmax. One other good point to remember, and this really is my final point, is when you're making something as big and as complicated as this, make copies. I always keep 2 copies of the file anyway when I save it. So if I show here, down here you can see I've got version 1.1 and version 1.2, and also even on the model itself I tend to hang on to splines, unextruded, unjoined, just in case I need them, and then once that's finished I can delete those. So there we are, Chippenham Station Part 2, and if you are able to provide me with any useful information about the station, I would be very grateful indeed. So if you could post that up on YouTube. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it inspires you to have a go at modelling with Gmax for Trainz railsim. There's frankly there are no if you've got plans, you can always make something that looks fairly close to whatever it was originally, and bring back virtually bring back the days when Brunel's brilliant broad gauge ran from London to Bristol, or should that be Bristol to London?